This is the Build Zone podcast.
1, 2, 3, 4.
All right, welcome to the podcast. Our friend from ABC National, Patrick Scarpati, he is the Director of Construction Technology and Innovation. It means a lot to me to have someone from ABC National come on. So welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Mike. Glad to hang out with you today.
And I really appreciate, you reached out and wanted to be on. I've been hanging my hat on. We've been noticed by ABC National. So, I feel like a real superstar here because when we talk to people about A, being on the podcast and B, sponsoring, I say, hey, do you know that ABC National is noticing this? I've got some other people in the next couple of weeks. All right. So, Patrick, tell us a bit about yourself. Tell us about, you've got a great story here because you were once an apprentice and now that you're made it through and you're licensed journeyman, now you're working with ABC National. So that's fantastic. Tell us your story.
Sure. Yeah. So I've been with ABC National since July. So I guess I just started, right? But my involvement with ABC has been going on probably for at least 10 years now. When I first got into construction, about 2014, that's 10 years ago, right? I was introduced to the apprenticeship program. I had no clue what it was. And I was in my mid-20s at that point anyway. So I thought I didn't know about it after high school. I tried the college thing. It didn't work out. I have college credits. I didn't graduate. And then I also have student loan debt. So that's pretty cool to carry for a long time, right? But you know what? I do have something to show for it because of my, professional trajectory here, right? So was able to jump into the apprenticeship program, and it just hit me almost instantaneously of being able to, learn while you earn. We've heard that so many times, right? Yep. But it's true once you're there. And I wasn't the youngest in my class, and I wasn't the oldest in my class. And I found that fascinating because, yeah, there were some high school kids, and I learned a lot from them. But then there were, aged journeymen that were coming in 40s and 50s, and they were just looking to continue to upskill and earn more money. And I just had so much appreciation for that. And it encouraged me to continue that process, right? So, while being an apprentice, right, learning on the job, that's the fun part, being on job sites. And I was fortunate enough to work with, they were a mechanical, electrical, and plumbing subcontractor. Of course, I was an HVAC apprentice, but I was able to learn really all three of those facets, not just in the classroom, but on job sites as well. Because when you're an apprentice, you kind of get asked to do anything, right? You don't really question it; you just do it. So I got involved with a lot of different activities there. But as I was going along, I did get introduced to the world of technology a little bit. It was BIM, building information modeling, right? Wow. Blew me away. I was very confused. I didn't understand it. I think the first time I had a set of drawings in front of me, they were what were called spool drawings, and just pieces of hydronic piping mapped out. And I said, what is this? This is not the construction. These aren't the contract drawings. I just became fascinated and was wondering, like, how did this come to be? Who made this? How did we make this? And a short time later, I had the opportunity to kind of jump into a part-time like office setting and start learning more about the BIM process, right? Because we had an in-house person doing that, and they were looking for more support. So they said, hey, why don't you come in, do this, like start learning this while you're an apprentice, learning the craft while you're on the job site, learning to actually install and build it. So I was kind of able to take all three of those together and I guess blossom really in my career.
I mean, it sounds like you were absolutely set up for success there. So for those that don't know what BIM is, I mean, give the shortened version of what BIM is.
I know, right? It's a term I've been told. It's been around for an extremely long time. A lot of places are still looking to adopt it, but it's building information modeling. Simply put, it's a 3D model, right, of your job site. You're virtually building your project before anything hits the ground, right? And that includes equipment coming on to cut down trees. Like before anything's there, say like a year out, you're looking at this 3D model, and as a subcontractor, we're modeling our hydronic piping to the specs that we're going to install it. So we're getting the correct type of material modeled in, the insulation, we're putting hangers in, we're putting valves in, we're putting all of this in to make sure it's going to fit. The fun part was a lot of the times it didn't fit. And that's why we had these, what were called coordination meetings, BIM coordination meetings. And we met with the other subcontractors and hashed out, where are you going to install your stuff virtually?
Right.
And then translate that into the field. That's a whole other discussion, because that's kind of a roadblock on its own. But that was the idea, is like virtually building your project, visualizing it, planning ahead of time, and then implementing and executing on that plan later on down the road.
Because for the people that's, drawing these things, at least, my experience, went to school to be an architect many years ago, right? I could draw it. I could draw that building or that house, but where everything fit in, everything went, let someone else figure that out, right? That's someone else's job, right? They told me to build this building, but now with the BIM and 3D modeling, they can go in and say that's not going to work because there's no room to put the stuff there. And I know a lot of companies do the 3D BIM modeling to even take a picture of with the 3D modeling piece before the walls go up, the sheetrock goes up, because then you know where everything is. So if something goes wrong, you can say, I can look at the 3D model. Now, when you mean 3D modeling, is it 3D model on a computer, or are they using a headset, like they're using like a VR type of thing?
Oh man, there's so many different ways you can see a 3D model. When I first started using it, I was just using large computer monitors, predominantly sharing it on TV screens to other people. But you can view them in virtual reality headsets and really like walk around. It's kind of a wild feeling to walk around in that and look around and start pointing stuff out, right? Is, hey, that doesn't go there, that does go there, right? You can do what's called augmented reality on a job site. You can like use your phone, right? And using your camera, you can still see the job site, but then your model can be overlaid on top of that. And you can use that for quality control, verify work in place, or just wonder like, why was that installed there?
Right. That's crazy. Now, you, in your role as, a director of construction technology, and I'm sure, you've all been almost a year. What are some changes that you've seen since July, do you think? Some stuff in that technology innovation side?
Well, when I came on board, I mean, artificial intelligence was the word of the town, man. It's getting talked about. It still is nonstop. And jumping from a general contractor to the association world, right? We didn't really do a ton of AI specific work at my last job. We might have played around with ChatGPT a little bit. We were just fascinated with the idea, but coming over to ABC, we got a lot of questions on help me understand it. That's the one thing that's changed a lot, is just helping to break down some of those barriers. Adoption in general, technology is still a struggle, right? I'm not talking about 3D modeling or flying drones or doing some of the flashy stuff. It's
Right.
literally like using your iPad on a job site, digitizing your workforce. It really is still a struggle. And I think we take pride at ABC to slow things down and help our contractor members, navigate their way through this process.
Right. That even on you're talking on a national level, we're talking about even like a chapter level, right? We got people that are like, you want to use an iPad for blueprints? Oh no, I need a blueprinting class. Like, no one's using people show up to the job site rolled up tubes of paper, right?
I mean, it still happens, right? And it's frustrating because there's so many different sets of drawings that can come out. Well, you're an architect, right?
Yep.
Hey, there's a change order that came in. We're issuing this ASI that is referring to 3 previous change orders and all these revisions. It's like, okay, well now I got to print 40 more pages.
Yep.
So
Let me get my pencil out. Let me get my pencil and my eraser out real quick. And I mean, I was on a job one time when the person showed up, literally the architect showed up with a pencil and eraser and a paper drawing. I said, what are you doing? He goes, let me make a change real quick. I said, what? Pencil, compass. What the hell is that? Right. But he was old school. This guy did stuff the old school way. And it definitely changes tough for people, right? Especially in the technology side. There's so many people out there that are afraid to use computers. They're afraid to send an email, afraid to turn on a computer, right?
Mhm.
And do these things. And What are some of I mean, I just talking about the ABC conference that was last week and that you were there. That was your first conference, right?
As a staffer,
As a
yes,
staff.
I've been as an audience member in the past as a contractor member, but yeah, as a staffer, and it's a 180.
Yeah. So talk a bit about that for a second, because I know you were involved with that first ever Tech Palooza, but what are some of the things you took away from, whether it be on the user side or the staff side?
Yeah, I mean, first I need to just celebrate ABC as a whole, because from what I heard, this was the biggest convention to date, as far as number of members and the member participation, and just the amount of interest in going to this and celebrating all of our competitors. And I was able to have so many great conversations with chapter leaders, right? Chapter presidents or people in positions like you understand what's happening down on that chapter level. I was able to speak with member companies and their leaders, right? Some tech focused people, others not so much, and just kind of bounce ideas off of each other. Um, but I think one of the most fun conversations I was able to have are with the parents of the competitors, the craft competitors on the floor, because on the exhibit floor, like there's booths set up with different sponsors and exhibitors, and it's super exciting to see all that. But on the outside are the competitors. And as I'm walking around, watching these students and just interacting with their parents and see how proud they are and hear about their past, because some parents are like, yeah, I'm a plumber, I'm this, and I came
Right.
from this, I used to do this, and it's things have changed so much. And um, they're just so proud, right? And I thought those were some of the best conversations I had.
I agree with you. I think that's some great, so many of these, even the participants, right? They're going to be their livelihood now, and to celebrate them is great. And the from the user side, ABC National, I think did an amazing job. So organized, so well put together.
Yes.
Just it's fascinating. Everything moves like a well-oiled machine. To know where to go, to know where to be, the times, the events they put on, the networking events, it was super smooth. I did peek my head in the Tech Palooza section there and see all the stuff in there. It was fantastic. Um, what about the Tech Palooza? Can we talk about, some of the things that were there, some of the technology that was there? You can talk a bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, quick history. So, technology focused department at ABC National is in its infancy. It's only been around, I think Matt Abels was hired in 2019. Um, so it's young, right? And once we brought him on board, or they brought him on board, I didn't. I just came on board, right? We were able to start implementing more tech-focused education sessions, events, things like that. And I mean, it was fully on display at convention this year, where we had the all hands on tech area, which is probably what you're thinking of on the exhibit floor, where we had an area dedicated to what we call our technology alliance and our technology marketplace. And those are companies vetted by our national tech committee that we feel are, I guess, worthy of working with our ABC members, right? We're telling our ABC members, yes, work with these companies because they've been through this vetted process. So they're able to go there, put some of their stuff on display, whether it be wearables, robotics, anything like that. And anybody on the exhibit floor can experience that. And then the first time we hosted Tech Palooza. And this was important because we had the chance to present on technology in front of all the students. So we had the craft competitors and the students, right? The college students and that competed. And to end the week, we brought up 5 amazing speakers to speak on topics like AI, reality capture, project management, virtual reality, right? And just tell them what you're doing now is extremely important. Learn your craft, become an expert in that, but at the same time, become more familiar with the technology that's in this industry already and expanding. Because if you can take both of those and combine it together, you're increasing your labor at that point, right? The cost
Right.
of your labor, like your value is only going to go up, because that's what's needed, right? To continue to educate our current workforce, our aging workforce, and then the workforce that's coming behind you, and continue to lead the way. So that was an exciting event, and we're looking forward to really continuing that into next year and the years to follow.
So the Tech Palooza will continue. Yeah, you think?
That's the goal,
Yeah.
right? That's the
Right.
goal.
Um, favorite part of your job, do you think? What's the most exciting part of your job?
Learning about other people and what they do in and around this industry. And what I mean by that is when I get to talk to other contractors, um, how are they leading their company? How are they leading a successful company? And then on the flip side of that, working for an association, because I never worked for one in the past, and being able to collaborate with my professional peers and understand how the association world works and how valuable, like literally everyone at ABC is to the industry, it means so much. And I've learned so much from that. I'm able to take away some of that knowledge and just build upon that for everybody. So it really just comes down to all the relationships and
With you.
hearing the different pockets of the country,
Yeah,
what's everybody working on?
I'm with you. I think it's amazing. I feel the same way. That's why we're so passionate about the podcast here, because it allows us to speak to people that are passionate about the construction industry, whether it be a student, a teacher, an ABC member, someone from ABC National that's doing some great things, and like to go to the convention and see all that super cool stuff that's going on. You're just like you're pumped to come back to work and like, let's do this. No robot dog this year. I didn't see the robot dog this year.
Yeah, unfortunately, Spot fell through kind of last minute. We were looking forward to that, but no worries. Spot's coming back.
I'll be back.
And
Spot was too, he was
we
sick that
always
day.
we always like to highlight Spot's just one of those fascinating pieces of technology that
Yeah.
people look at and they're like, "Huh, that's why is that here?" And they realize, that kind of presents the future, what's possible on a job site. Maybe it's not getting adopted at a fast pace, but it just presents like what could be on job sites in the
And
future.
even think, I mean, that goes hand in hand, I think, with the drone thing, right? Because, you know, we've got a member here that does a drone. I mean, he came by here one day at the office and took some sweeping shots, just the building and just
Mhm.
how useful that would be in a construction site, whether it be the marketing, whether it be just a shot of the top of the building or the lay of the land or how close is the highway or I love the technology piece. I know there's a lot of ABC members that do a lot of great stuff. We've worked pretty close with the folks over at Smart Build and Zolk's
Yeah,
fan of the podcast and does a fantastic job.
yeah.
All right. So if anybody had any questions for you particularly, how can they get a hold of you?
Well, my email address would be best, scarpati@abc.org. When I reply, my cell phone number is in my signature. That is another great way as well. Um, from the tech side, we are planning to roll out a help desk type flow for people that have technology specific questions because just between myself, Matt and Joseph, and even other employees at ABC, we're getting more and more technology questions on how do I use this or I want to learn how to do this, right? But we're trying to filter that into um, one piece of technology, the ticket system, and organize it from there. So not out right now, but we're working on it.
That's great. And then you're doing something with ABC Massachusetts in a couple of weeks, right?
I think that's next week. Yeah.
Next
So
week.
yeah, I'm doing a webinar, I believe, on artificial intelligence.
That's
Yep.
great. And it's amazing how it's so the AI now things more and more intertwined with everything that we do, and it's never going to replace the tradespeople, right? The robots, right? I was never, like I said, you can't. I could say to Chat GPT, write me a podcast description, or make it 3,000 words, or make it very descriptive. But I can't get AI to come to the house to fix my boiler, right? Not happening yet.
Not
Hopefully it's nowhere
yet.
near there. Not that I hope one day we'll have. My wife is definitely afraid of robots, so to have a robot show up to my house to fix something at my house would not be. But she gets here we have a Stop and Shop supermarket chain up here,
Yeah.
and there's a robot that kind of rolls around looking at the shelves for inventory or
Oh,
looking for spills, right? And she won't even go down the aisle if she sees that. Poor robot, she's screaming. All right, now comes my favorite part of the podcast, is lightning round. We ask Patrick 10 rapid fire questions. He does not know that they're coming. There'll be some lightning bolts thrown in here.
okay.
If you would host your own late night talk show, who would you invite as your first guest?
Uh, alive or dead?
Doesn't matter. You pick.
Um, I would probably do, this is gonna sound silly. Uh, David Lee Roth, former lead singer of Van Halen.
You know what? That's a perfectly fine and acceptable answer. I two thumbs up on the David Lee Roth. I think he'd be a great guest, right? The guy's kind of
He's
out there.
charismatic. He's
Yeah.
got a lot of opinions, and maybe he would perform as well. I mean, I was born. I'm a late '80s kid. I was born in the late '80s, so growing up, my dad, he listened to that stuff. So, very very familiar with David Lee Roth.
There's an amazing tribute band called Jump. If you search them on social media, I was following it. Jump is like amazing. They do a great job. Let's see here. If you were famous, what would you be famous for?
Oh man. Oh, that's a tough question. Got me on the spot.
Say it every week. We ask the hard hitting questions here on the Build Zone podcast.
Um, I would be famous for. I'm trying to think of all the hobbies I used to have because I have kids now,
Yep.
right? All my
Gone.
hobbies.
Goodbye. Yep.
Okay, so maybe I would be famous for talking about the hobbies I used to have.
That's fine. That'd be
That.
perfectly fine. If you could do one thing and only one thing for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Play guitar.
Play guitar. That's great. Let's see here. If you could add anyone to Mount Rushmore, who would it be and why? Dead or alive, doesn't matter.
Dude, I got to go back to David Lee Roth again.
Again, that's great. Oh man, it's two birds, one
Keep
stone
him
right
here.
there. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Which fictional family would you be a member of?
Ron Swanson's family.
Thought you were going to say the David Lee Roth family again.
I don't.
I'm
I'm okay with that. Yeah.
The Van Halen family or the David Lee Roth family. That's it. Worst job you've ever had?
I try and appreciate every job I've ever had, right?
Yep.
But the worst was my first ever job. I worked at a kennel, and I wasn't the guy that got to play with the dogs and walk them all the time. I was the guy that got to do all the other stuff at the kennel. Just imagine, yeah.
Favorite meal to cook and why?
Ooh, quesadillas. They're easy, they're quick.
Yeah.
You can get creative with them as well, and then with having kids, you can make them simple that they eat.
Favorite musical instrument and why?
Well, I play guitar, so I have to go to guitar on that one.
Popcorn or M&Ms?
M&Ms.
Are you a good dancer?
No.
If you could be immortal, what age would you choose to stop aging at and why?
24, because I would like to hold the weight that I was at that time.
I'm with you. I'm with you. If you could donate $1 million to any charity, what cause would you choose?
I would choose one for autism, 100%. And it would be all of my money, not just $1 million. It would be all of my money.
Oh, excellent. And then we always like to ask this question too. If there's a food fight tonight at the Scarpati dinner table, and you had to pick one weapon of choice and you can't pick mashed potatoes, what would you pick?
Strawberries. I'd mash them up in my hand first.
Ooh, that's a good one. Ooh, that'd be messy. Ooh, would that be messy? Hopefully you don't have to pick that up at the end. Hopefully you get someone helping you clean up that mess at the end.
Dogs, man. We got dogs.
That's it. Love it. All right. That's our friend Patrick from ABC National, the director of construction technology innovation. Big things coming down the pipeline from ABC National on the tech side. So stay on top of things with that. It's going to be awesome. Patrick, I appreciate you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Mike.
Awesome.
Thank you so much to Patrick Scarpati for joining us this week. Such a great interview. I wish I could have been on there. But again, I was down and out last week, so hopefully I get to chat with him soon. We obviously recorded 2 episodes this week, so if you want to check out our training classes, listen to our last episode, friends. But also, if you want to look at them, check out gwgci.org/events.
And then again, we recorded all this. There was a repeat, but you can check out upcoming events for abcmass.org on the website. Left-hand side of the website talks about all the upcoming events. It's got a great little details link you can click on. We've got some great roundtables coming up. We got Meet the Generals next week. Check out abcma.org. And as far as social media, look for the Build Zone podcast at the Build Zone podcast on Instagram, LinkedIn. We're on YouTube too. We've got some great stuff going on YouTube. We try to post videos a couple of weeks, couple of days after the audio comes up on everywhere you can find podcasts. So wherever you listen to podcasts, we're on Amazon, we're on iHeartRadio, we're on there's 13 total sites. Let me just bring that up real quick. I'll mention them real quick. We'll edit this out.
Wherever you listen to podcasts.
All right. So if you're interested in finding out where you can find the podcast, we're on Apple iTunes, on Spotify, Blueberry Directory, Overcast, Castbox, Amazon Music, Audible, Player FM, Listen Notes, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Pocket Casts, and Castro. Anywhere you've listened to podcasts, you can find us. Like I said before, like, tag, share, follow, smash that like button, smash that subscribe button so you get out there. And if you want to know more information about the podcast, you can reach out to Allison or myself. We'd love to have you on. Talk to you next week.